Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of the Powers Sports Memorabilia Show. I am your host, Matt Powers, of course, and thank you again for joining us and me specifically. Today we've got just one topic I'm going to discuss, and hopefully this will help you with the items that you send into autograph signings. So I know everybody does autograph signings. At some point, you will send in an item or get an item back from an autograph signing. And this is to help you if you get it back and it doesn't meet your expectations. Okay, we've all had this happen to some extent. It's just part of the nature sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time, but every now and then an item will come back, whether it's missing an inscription or the wrong pen was used or the pen exploded or the athlete didn't sign it. Who knows what's going on? There are a million things that could go wrong when you're dealing with athletes, and you got a lot of hands in the cookie jar, and sometimes things can go wrong. So the topic for today is, what do you do when something goes wrong with your item? Okay? And then we'll talk about maybe some steps at the end here on how you can alleviate and hopefully limit your risk on that. So first thing is that you want to do when you get your item back from the autograph signing and it does not meet your expectations, you always want to contact the vendor immediately, okay, right away. I prefer to do contact with people via email that way. That way I have some sort of documentation on what the issue was or is, and also how I'm looking to fix the problem. Hopefully you've had some sort of solution you've been thinking about when you've reached out to these people, but always make sure that you're crystal clear of what the issue is. Hey, I was missing this particular inscription. No problem. I'd like to get a refund for it. Stuff like that, Or, hey, the pen, crapped out on me. It looks like junk or whatever, and, I'd like to get a new item or have some specific solution in mind. That way, when you go back to the dealer, you can get to a solution a lot quicker, okay? Number 2 tip on this one is always be courteous and kind when it comes to solutions like this. I know sometimes we get an item back that we're really looking forward to, and there's something that's just wrong with it, and you don't want to be that guy, those people that call Comcast or whoever their internet provider is and just curse those people out. I mean, there's no need for that. It doesn't help you get to the solution quicker. I know you can be frustrated, and at times, sometimes you just want someone to listen to you. And I totally get that. Totally get that. But I always try to focus on the solution, and definitely want to hear you out with the problems. I get that, but let's focus on what the solution is. Sometimes it's not the dealer's fault. Sometimes, an athlete will refuse to sign something, agree to sign it, and then refuse to sign it, or agree to an inscription and then say, I don't want to do that, or show up at the signing and say, I'm only going to do half of the inscriptions I agreed to. I've seen that with a couple athletes. I heard about Aaron Rodgers signing a couple years ago, where he just showed up and left halfway and only did part of the inscriptions. So sometimes they have stuff come up in their schedule. Sometimes they get tired and bored. There's a lot of factors that come in when you're dealing with other human beings. Pens can explode. That's obviously an unforeseen thing about a dealer. Hopefully, if that's the case, the dealer would reach out to you and say, hey, this is what happened, and what do you want me to do? Hopefully they would do that before they send you the item. I've had people do that to me, other dealers, where I've wanted stuff specifically done a certain way, and I get it back and it's missing everything. Like no inscriptions, no authentication with it, and it's just like, were you just like not hoping I wasn't going to notice or something? I mean, so personally for me, if there is an issue that pops up like that, I try to at least reach out to the person beforehand and say, hey, here's what went on, and how would you like me to fix it? If I can fix it, I will. So just always being open to ideas is the number 3 tip, is always be open to ideas and solutions. Sometimes an athlete signs that doesn't ever sign, like Kevin Garnett, for example. Sometimes, athletes just, again, don't want to do it. And if an athlete doesn't want to sign stuff and he's hard to get to, you're going to have to be open to some other solutions, whether it be a refund on your item, or you get a different item for that athlete, or you swap it out for something completely different. So just be open to the idea, and always keep your ears peeled. You may actually get a better deal on something. You never know. You just don't want to close any doors and not hear any ideas before you make your decision. So number 4 is, if you do have an issue, make sure you get a resolution date in writing from whoever you're working with. Let's say, for example, athlete A has signed and there's an issue with the item, but he's signing again in 4 weeks. Make sure you get that in writing. Say, hey, yep, we'll get it redone for you in 4 weeks, and then you'll have the item the following week. Stuff like that's cool. Or if you're getting a completely new item, you say, hey, when will you ship this one out to me? Hey, we'll ship it out this week. You'll have it by this date, And then once you get it, then you can send back the other item. So just so everybody has crystal clear expectations on what's happening and when you're getting the item and what's going on. I always like to try to get that in writing, and just make sure I'm crystal clear with the customer, and also, if I'm dealing with another dealer, that, hey, everything is understood at this point. You always want to be on the same page so there's no surprises and so there's no more further issues. Try to avoid those. So step 5, though, let's say, for example, a resolution can't be met. Whatever it is, the dealer is being a prick, or who knows, they won't help you out. And, sometimes there's stuff like that. I had a dealer that I was dealing with that overcharged me by like a mere $200. I mean, we're talking $200, right? Not a huge deal, but I like my $200 back, And I literally sent 7 to 10 emails, following up, called, following up. And he said, hey, listen, you'll have your money back by this date, and blah, blah, blah. And this is a well-known dealer too. They never refunded me. Never. I had to file a chargeback to get my $200 back. So, step 5 is, don't be afraid to make that step and do a chargeback or a PayPal claim or however you paid. I really hate doing those because it's a pain in the butt, and I don't want to be that guy either that does that, but you know what, I've had to do it really just once, just that one time. And, I was forced to do it. What was I going to do? The guy owed me $200, So that's a big tip right there. I know some of you guys pay for stuff, friends and family and all that. You got zero protection when it comes to friends and family. Zero, nada, nothing. So if you are going to be sending money in for a signing, I know customers send me checks and stuff like that. And for me personally, I would never do anything like that. I always like to have some sort of protection in case, crazy stuff happens and stuff. I mean, there are some war stories out there with, autograph signings with athletes, and in this industry, dealers come and go all the time. I mean, I have seen dealers come and go, and not many stick around, and sometimes they do a signing and, you never hear from them again. So just make sure that you're working with somebody that, you trust and that you have contact information for, multiple contact information. So really, let's talk about now for just a few minutes, how do we avoid this happening to us? Nobody wants to have this happen to us. Nobody wants to get back a bad item. You want to make sure that you get the item as best as possible in the way that you want it. And dealers want to do that too. So how can you help out dealers and how can you help out yourself? Well, step 1 in what I really like doing is, if I have something really specific I want done, I will take a picture of the item and I will actually hand draw or write on it exactly where I want stuff. So let's say, for example, I'm doing a jersey. I'll take a picture of the number and I will write it out in the color that I want, where I want the inscription, where I want the signature, where I want, the authentication sticker, all that stuff. You can do that on the jersey itself. A jersey is kind of one of those items where you can kind of put some painter's tape on there. But me personally, I don't like putting that crap on there because sometimes it stays on there for like 3 or 4 weeks. And I had one issue with a screen printed jersey. I put some tape on over and it left like some residue on there, and I did not like that. So I kind of stopped doing it at some point. You can just really put that piece of paper on there with the instructions and just tape it to the tag a little bit, and it'll stay on the item. So I like doing that. That way the athlete can just look at that and say, oh, okay, that's exactly how they want it. Piece of cake, no problem. So that for me is really the easiest way. How you can also do this is make sure that when you are communicating to the dealer that you send this stuff via email and that you get confirmation on everything. Say, hey, Mr. John, I sent you the item. Just want to make sure you got everything. Yep. Okay, we're clear on the inscriptions. Yep. We're doing 15-time All-Star here, and we're doing Hall of Fame here. Perfect. Cool. Got it. That'll give you peace of mind, too, that they know what the heck they're doing, and also that they know exactly what you want. You can do that over the phone, too, if you wanted to, and talk to them that way. But I always, like I said, I always sit to get that stuff in writing. But really the big thing, and I just touched on this not too long ago, is know who you're dealing with. You know, there is something to be said for working with a company who you know what they look like, they have a phone number, they have an address, they have an email address too, multiple ways of contacting them, they have a social media presence, they have some reviews, you know, they have a legitimate shot of getting you that perfect item, you know. I understand sometimes athletes will sign with some random companies that you've never heard of, and you know it's a little bit of a risk at that time. But make sure you take those steps that we just talked about. You know, make sure you're doing PayPal goods and services or paying by a credit card and stuff like that, and make sure that you feel comfortable right off the bat. You know, if the person you're talking to doesn't have any of that contact information and you don't feel comfortable about it, be patient. Don't worry about it. The athlete most likely will sign with someone else. So just be patient. But hopefully that helps you guys out. I know autograph signings can be tricky when you're sending stuff in. It can be even tricky when you're there in person, you know. I mean, how many times you walked up to the table and been like, hey, I'd like to have this done, and the athlete's like, nope, not doing it. So just be open, honest, and courteous with everybody, and everybody will go smoothly. And it's always tricky sometimes when you're dealing with human beings. You got multiple hands in there. There are a lot of things that can go wrong. But thankfully, most of the time, everything goes smoothly and items turn out great. So that's going to wrap it up for the second Power Sports Memorabilia show. I hope you guys got some useful information. If you guys have any questions on anything, go ahead and reach out. I'm always available for questions pertaining to this or anything else. So anyways, thanks for listening, guys. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you soon.